Hello everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today I'm going to be talking about anything, nothing, something, whatever hits my brain first. I'm just going to be speaking my mind, so if you got sensitive ears, maybe just get the fuck out of here right now. Not to be rude, but I've got a lot of things to be happy about right now, a lot of things that are extremely not happy to be about right now, and it's just kind of, they're like canceling each other out like a fucked up standing wave, and I'm just oscillating between depression and rage when, there's again, not necessarily reason for either, but again, it's the paradox that creates the distortion. You see, because a good friend of mine from high school passed from this earth 7 days ago under extremely tragic circumstances. And I'm clear on how. I'm not clear on why. It makes me angry when people who shouldn't have to die. And it makes me angry that there's a possibility that it might not have happened if other people had given just a little bit more of a fuck about safety or life or fucking anything. Excuse me. He went down in a helicopter in the East River of New York City. His name was Tristan Hill, and I had a lot of good times with him. And a lot of other friends, and he was going to be married on May 27th to the love of his life. And now he's not. Now they're all mourning his death and trying, I guess, as hard as they can to celebrate the life that he lived, given the tragic circumstances of its ending. And I suppose this video is in line with my last one, the nature of life and death and all that bullshit. And it's really hard. Now, I'm one who, goes out and says, there's no such thing as death. And everything happens for a reason. But then shit like this happens, and it's like, wow, that's fucking stupid. To Tristan, and for all those brothers and sisters who have fallen. Reno, Nevada, Great Basin. A lot of good things come out of Reno. Not everything that comes out of Reno is good, but there's a lot of good things. Tristan was one of them. I consider myself a good thing that came out of Reno, I suppose. Could talk about a lot of things. There's a lot of videos that I've kind of wanted to make over the last couple weeks, and then this happened a week ago, and it's just like, who gives a fuck about Bitcoin mining? Like, who gives about this faggot Andy McCabe getting sacked from the FBI and his miserable fucking whining? I'm just kidding, I'm a victim. Shut the fuck up, Andy McCabe. Degenerate excuse for a fucking Irishman. St. Patrick's Day was yesterday. Talk about how St. Patrick probably didn't even fucking exist. It was made up, just icon of the Vatican, symbolized their conquest of a once free people on a once free island. But what's the point? What's the point? it's like people who have faced a lot of death in their life, they have a really hard time with the whole God concept, right? Everything happens for a reason. Oh yeah, God controls the whole universe. Then why did all this totally fucked up shit happen? Why does it still keep happening every single fucking day? That's the question. If this guy's so fucking wonderful and controls the whole universe, if everything happens for a reason, why is everything so fucked up? And that is a very difficult question. And I don't know if I necessarily have the answer for it. I guess I hazard more of answers and try and throw darts at that board more than most people, but doesn't mean I've got the answer. Trying to find it. Trying to find out what the fuck all this is for. And I guess, you know, the experience and the intimacy with the experience of death in one's own life, of people close to you, you know, that's what kind of propels, I think, what is the religious instinct. Like, it's so painful to lose one who is close to you, to know that you'll never see them again. And you know, it's weird though, because again, I hadn't seen Tristan in many years. Like, you know, I don't see a lot of people from high school. I still consider them my friends, right? And those are still good experiences we had. I might have changed, you know, in my manner, but not in my substance. And, you know, we're usually friends again whenever we do meet up. But it's like I wasn't necessarily mourning those moments, right? It's not that I'm just sad about not seeing them. I'm sad that they're not there to enjoy their own life. I'm sad for them, not for me. It's not like, oh, they're gone and now I lose something. No, it's they lost something, and that's what's fucking sad. And I've had friends closer to me who have died of drug overdoses, and, you know, friends who I've spent a lot more time with than I ultimately spent with Tristan. But you know, in some way, when a person dies of a drug overdose, part of me is just like, well, at least they were relieved from that pain. At least they, you know, whatever they were anesthetizing and numbing with the substance, at least they're free from that now. And, you know, whether you believe in an afterlife or reincarnation or whatever, even if death is death and there's nothing after, if your life was pain, the death is still relief. But it's really fucking hard when somebody who loves their life has to go. Somebody who really, really, really just enjoyed every day. That's really fucking sad. Somebody who did not want to die. And, you know, I hate that it puts the fear back in me. I hate that now I'm terrified to go in helicopters. Like, you know, I mean, not even from that hearing experience entirely, but I've had so many dreams of just being in an airplane and it just goes hurtling towards the earth. And that feeling of that drop is, I struggle to think of anything more terrifying than that feeling. I've had, you know, lucid dreams of tidal waves, right? You know, and again, when I tell people it's a dream, you know, they think maybe, oh, it's not as intense. No, when you're really in the dream, you can't tell the difference between that and reality. Even if it's a ridiculous dream, you think it's real when you're there. And I've stared into a tidal wave, and that's fucking terrifying. But it's still not more terrifying than that drop. And you look out the window and you just see the earth hurtling toward you. It is absolutely scares the shit out of you, man. It was in an open air helicopter, and I guess because it was an open air helicopter, they had some sort of metal hook strap on their back that you couldn't fucking undo if, you know, somebody else has to help you undo it, right? And this fucking helicopter, they say some bag hit the emergency fuel shutoff button, which makes approximately 0 sense. Actually, it makes negative sense. It's a fucking stupid thing to even suggest. If there is a helicopter that was built like that, that person who built it shouldn't be just put in jail. They should be fucking executed for criminal negligence and criminal idiocy. But who knows? And that's just the pilot talking. The pilot was able to cut himself out, nobody else was, even though 2 of the other people on the plane supposedly were fire rescue. And, it was a risk that Tristan chose to take every day, working with a helicopter company. But, again, it's like, if what's the point of all this stupid-ass regulation if it doesn't actually prevent helicopters from falling out of the motherfucking sky, right? What's the point? But I don't think that he expected that would happen when he took that job. I don't think that he expected that risk to end that way. And, it's like, why is it that hard to get out of a helicopter? Like, and I don't know, belt cutters? I know it's a harness, but shit, it's like, I guess I'm just in the rationalization phase or whatever the fuck, the 5 steps of death or whatever. It's just like, why did it have to happen? Again, with a drug overdose, okay, they straight up did it to themselves, or they asked a personal close friend to do it to them. It's like there's really no escape in that one. It's still extremely sad, but, again, less points of other people's failure involved. But it's like, you either have to become so callous in the face of the experience of death, you have to just accept that none of it has any purpose, that there is no fucking point to life, that there's no point in trying to be or do anything, because it all just completely vaporizes as soon as you die. The only thing that matters is your brain as a biological computer recording all of this, and when that computer gets destroyed, the experience is gone and there is nothing after that. That's really crushing. When one of your friends dies, someone who is so good. Only the good die young, man. Fucking, I just hope that I won't die young, because I've got enough evil in me to keep me alive. I've got a relationship with that shadow self, and I can see pitfalls where a goody two-shoes might not. I don't know. Not to say that Tristan was that, but I've had other friends who have died, just extremely good people. Just fucking... It's like the atheist spirituality, basically is just, my friends live on in my heart, and I still live, and I will instill my essence, that memory of them and myself into other people. Like, it was pondering out that and hashing out that kind of mental line right before I stopped being an atheist, when I started considering the causal mechanisms and chains in between generations and the function of memory as it passes from generation to generation. And how there are people who have lived, such amazing lives who we remember throughout history, right? Well, at least those of us who read books and are literate. But even much smaller than that, every person that I've known has impacted me in some way, and I presume that I've impacted other people in some way, and it's only in conscious kind of grabbing hold of that fact that I have any greater power over anyone in this dimension. Is just because I'm right at that singularity point. I'm curating my experience. I'm not just victim to all this random shit. I'm not necessarily dominating it all, because that's not either the goal either, to just dominate your experience and just pre-write the entire script, right? Because there's a dance to be felt. There's an interaction. There's a big world out there that's already going on, before you even got there. Not to say that you shouldn't be a part of it, but, again, let the chaos and the order dance with one another and curate the experience. And that's ultimately, it's curating. Oh, man. I don't want to interrupt myself, but check it out. You see the deer? Oh, my dear friends. I hope you can see it. He's down there, just chilling in the sun. There's such a magic to life, and there's such a magic to memory. And there's no intrinsic reason that any of this should happen, that any of this has to be this way. Like, You know, we might as well just assume that the universe was created, because to assume that all this happened randomly, it's like that in and of itself is a fucking miracle. So it's like you might as well believe that the universe is at least conscious and self-organizing, you know, if you don't believe in God, right? But to me, what's the fucking difference? Like, you know, and that's I guess what I'm trying to get at to seal this fucking point, which is it's like you don't need to believe in any special passages in a book. You don't need to believe that Jesus was God and the Son of Man, and he came to abolish all of our sins, and he escaped from this rock cave. It's like none of that fucking matters at all. I'm not saying it doesn't matter in an objective sense, but as far as the innate human experience and spirit and experience of spirit in reality, none of that is necessary. Is a good person before they've read the Bible? Yes, absolutely. You know, I am not a fundamentalist over here, okay? If there's a God, if there's a creator, then his or her or its will is manifest in every single experience at all times. Including this plant, right? Cannabis plant. You want to say that God wants you to take OxyContin, fucking God wants you to go and vote for the Republicans or the Democrats or whoever, fucking, but God doesn't want you to smoke a plant, to consume a seed-bearing plant that he himself made? What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck am I talking about? I told you, this is a rambling video. It's part of a catharsis. Trying to get over an experience that doesn't make sense and reconcile it with a belief system that I've developed in response to previous traumas of a similar sort. Because I will bear the fire of my friends, I will remember them, and I will carry on their legacy. And I will sing songs inspired by their memory. And other people will remember those songs, I hope, for a long time. I'm still not sure that anybody in this world, including Space Panther, understands my poetry. Maybe somebody, but, you know, it's all for posterity's sake, right? Upload it to the blockchain, and maybe you'll be famous in 400 years, like most of the greats in history. Leonardo da Vinci and shit. It's like these artists, they are totally penniless in their entire lives. Like, their whole life they go and they're fucking just producing this genius work, and nobody has a fucking clue what they're talking about. Just complete sailing over people's heads, you know, but nevertheless their work remains, right? And we interact with that work hundreds of years after their death, right? After they died penniless, miserable, and poor, you know, who knows if they were miserable. Again, I'm just rambling here. And yet we gain unspeakable volumes of value and information and pleasure and wealth from examining their work that yielded them nothing, right? So it's only when you start to take a longer term view of the species and our whole adventure that you start to really understand what God fucking is really even playing at, right? That entire lifetimes can be sacrificed by the boatload as long as it continues to develop the overall story of the species. And people learn from it, or they don't, and then they just keep just inflicting trauma on each other in a circular firing squad, right? Until somebody, you know, either dodges their head instinctively, or by pure random chance, or by epileptic convulsion, whatever it may be, and people change their habits, and they start to change the pattern of action among the species, right? Changing the frequency and actually making people do things differently, hopefully better, right? See things differently, hopefully better, you know. And I just, I go forward at least content knowing that I'm a better person because I met Tristan. I'm really glad to have met him. Glad to have met his brother and his family. I know he's got multiple brothers, but I only met Brendan. Brendan, if you watch this, you're a cool cat, brother. Fucking just represent, man. And I'm a better person for knowing Space Panther. I'm a better person for knowing Kelly Rogensack, who careened off of a cliff back when we were in college. We weren't at the same college, but I always thought that I'd see you again. I appreciate you guys, just for the conversation, even if you argue with me, almost especially if you argue with me. Do you know how few people there are on this planet who are even capable, let alone willing to argue with me? Fucking not very many. So much love, brothers and sisters. And that's what it is. Life keeps on going, and we remember. And we might not always be able to communicate all those memories, but they still exist in the ether. They still exist inside, in the fiber of the DNA. And it's not biochemical. And it's not even electromagnetic. It is just something purely ingrained in this entire world. It's only when you really feel these feelings that you understand who God even might be, let alone who he or she or it is. This experience is the miracle. There's no reason that you or I should exist. There's no fucking reason at all. But then again, there is. We're supposed to enjoy our time here. We're supposed to build things. We're supposed to make things better. We're the keepers of the garden. This is a fucking garden. We're supposed to keep the garden. It's not all about the environment either. In this political spectrum just is this false fucking imperial overlay on top of the natural organic experience of life. I get along in California being like an anarcho-capitalist, what they call a radical right wing. I'm not fucking radical right wing because I work for a cannabis company. I make fucking energy balancing orgonite. Like, I genuinely care about people. Like, I'm not a religious fucking fanatic who can't tolerate other people's lifestyles. Like, but I also see the virtues of capitalism. I actually, believe that there's value in Western civilization. I think it's not necessarily an evil thing that white males are statistically one of the smarter fucking people on this planet. Like, it's like, do I hate the Asians because they have a higher IQ? No, I'm glad the fucking Asians are here to help making all this cool stuff. Like, I'm glad for everybody to be here for all the things that they produce, but then again, it's like, are we all created equal? No. Or do we all end equal? No. Shitty people like Andrew McCabe fucking get to live as long as they have. Fucking, at least he lost his pension. At least that scumbag motherfucker lost his pension. We'll see. Swamp might be too deep for even Trump to get at. Fucking, again, I'm still very optimistic on the whole world, but it's like, dude, fucking, there's just so much stupidity and so much dumb shit, and I'm just trying to do my little part every day to change it, at least one arc second, right? Maybe a few arc seconds, right? And if I can change the course a few arc seconds every day, well, then maybe over the course of a year, I change, it by 1 or 2 degrees, but over a lifetime, I can turn this bitch around. Right, I can turn the whole fucking species around if I just always hold that consistency and always turn the rudder in the same direction. And that direction is towards paradise and freedom and liberation for all living and conscious beings on this planet, not just the human species. And that, to me, makes perfect sense. It will always make perfect sense because that is the sum total of experiences on this planet. You think that your life is so holly jolly fucking great, maybe you don't, maybe, I don't know, I'm presuming I'm talking to a fucking screen. But consider even just the amount of suffering that goes into the conventional American diet, right? You don't have to be a vegan to fucking care about animals suffering. Okay, even the people that eat steak every fucking day, they see a person, they find out about a person like torturing dogs, and they flip the fuck out and get indignant, right? And they're just like on a warpath, right? And those same people, if they saw like someone torturing even a cow or a chicken, like they would probably think, okay, that person's a little fucking wacky. Okay, that person's got some sick shit going on in their head. Okay, but that is literally the energy that's going into your food if you eat unconsciously. And basically, I I eat eggs. I even occasionally eat meat, but I can't eat most American food. I can't do it. It's not even just about biochemistry, it's about energy. It is biochemically garbage, but it's also filled with poison and suffering from the animals, and the fucking people who work there don't give a shit. And it's like, you can make food with good ingredients, but if you put hate and shitty energy into that food, then it won't taste good. Like, I'm just completely rambling. This is just scattershot, but I hope that those of you who are still listening will just know that you should appreciate every moment, and just consider that, you're a link in a great chain of all the people who came before you and all the people that are coming after. And you're not just this island. You're not completely alone at all. Like, we're all in this, and even if you feel alone, you're still joined by millions of other people who feel alone in the same way, and I think that we're getting to that point in history when we can actually turn this digital network into a real human network. And with the blockchain, we can turn that social network into a value network, and we really can create something absolutely beautiful and brilliant. And that's what I'm playing for. If I don't fly down in a fucking river in a helicopter at some point, or who knows what, knock on wood. I'm not trying to be callous. I'm just trying to get through this. But that's what I'm playing for, is paradise. And again, I hope you join me, because I ain't got time for whiny little bitches anymore. I ain't got time for partisan, fucking wacky, delusional Russia. Shut the fuck up, you fucking ridiculous maniacs. You fucking asinine twats with your stupid fucking gossip and blabbering. Just shut the fuck up about Russia already, okay? Just go back to fucking living life, alright? And stop pretending like any of this politics shit is like really a threat to you, because the only people that Trump is a threat to are the people named in the annex to the document he signed on the solstice of last winter, alright? The human traffickers and the people who are actually perpetuating the misery and the hell that on this planet. And you know what? They should be afraid. Because we finally got a fucking president who, even if he fails, at least his heart is in the right place, and he's genuinely trying to make it better. And I will continue to stand by him and his work going forward. Again, we'll see what, the potential exists for things to go awry. And, I'm not going to script the story entirely, but I remember the dead, and I remember the living. And I'm not going to forget about either, and that will continue to guide me in my thoughts and actions. Wholeness and balanced vibrations, blessed be to all of you, and may you move safely on all of your journeys. Cheers.